When you hear the name Arnold Schwarzenegger, you probably picture a few things, right? The Terminator, Mr. Universe, the Governator. But how does one guy get to the absolute top of so many completely different fields? Well, it turns out he wasn't just winging it. He follows a very specific blueprint. So today, we're going to break down his 6 rules for success.
Now, these rules come from a speech he gave that just completely blew up online. We're talking over 100 million views. People listen to this thing every single day on repeat. And that's because these aren't just, nice ideas. They are the exact actionable principles he used to build his incredible life.
All right, so let's dive right in with the first 2 rules. Think of these as the foundation for everything else. It's all about figuring out where you're going, and then protecting that destination from all the noise.
Rule number 1 sounds simple, but it is huge. Have a vision. Without a clear goal, you're basically just a ship without a rudder. You might be busy, you might be working hard, but you're just drifting. And you'll never end up where you truly want to be, because you never decided where that was to begin with. So that's the big question you have to ask yourself. Right now, where are you going? Seriously, most people actually can't answer that. They know what's on their to-do list for today, but they have no idea what it's all supposed to be building towards. And look, this is what happens when you drift. A survey found that a staggering 74% of Americans dislike their jobs. They didn't get there because they were passionate about it. They just ended up there, all because they lacked a clear vision to steer them somewhere more meaningful.
Arnold's vision came from a pretty unexpected place. He was just a kid in post-war Austria, and he stumbled upon a bodybuilding magazine. On the cover was this guy, Reg Park, and inside the magazine laid out the entire path. How Reg trained, how he won Mr. Universe, how he got into movies and became a star. For young Arnold, this wasn't just a magazine. It became the literal blueprint for his entire life.
Okay, so you've got your vision. Now comes rule number 2, and this one's crucial. Ignore the naysayers. Because the second you set a big, ambitious goal, I promise you, people will line up to tell you all the reasons you can't do it. Arnold says you have to just tune them out. Completely. And this is where he became a master of mental reframing. When Hollywood agents told him his body was too big for movies, or his accent was weird, or his name was unpronounceable, he didn't hear no. He heard, my body is unique. My accent will make me stand out, and my name is so different, no one will ever forget it.
He basically lived by this powerful idea from Nelson Mandela. He just decided that if something had never been done before, well, he would be the someone to do it first.
Okay, so let's see how this all connects. A vision and self-belief, that's your map and your compass. But rules 3 and 4, this is the engine. This is what actually moves the car down the road. Just relentless work and total all-in commitment. Rule number 3 is super blunt. Work your butt off. That's it. There's no shortcut, there's no magic pill. Success is built on sweat, plain and simple.
Arnold gets really fired up when people say they don't have time. Think about it. A day has 24 hours. Let's say you sleep for 8 hours and you work for 8 hours. You still have 8 full hours left over for yourself. So the question isn't whether you have enough time, it's what are you doing with it?
And look, he wasn't just talking the talk. When he first landed in America, he was a full-time college student. He was working out for 5 hours every single day. He was working a construction job to pay the bills. And he was going to acting classes 4 nights a week, from 8 p.m. to midnight. The man used every single minute.
He loves to tell this story about Muhammad Ali. A reporter once asked him how many sit-ups he does, and Ali gave this legendary answer. That is the definition of hard work. It doesn't even start until you're past the point where you want to quit.
Okay, and now for his most controversial rule, the one that makes people a little nervous. Have no plan B. Now, this sounds kind of reckless, but his logic is actually really powerful. The moment you create a backup plan, you are admitting to yourself that you might fail.
I know it's controversial, but his logic here cuts deep. Having a safety net feels smart, but it's actually a psychological trap. A plan B basically whispers to your subconscious, hey, it's okay if plan A doesn't work out. It gives you an out. Arnold argues this divides your energy and it lowers the stakes. When you perform without a safety net, when plan A is the only option, you are forced to work harder, get more creative, and perform at a level you didn't even know you had in you.
So, what happens when you're working that hard, you've got no plan B, and you still fall flat on your face? Well, that brings us to the final 2 rules, and these are all about building resilience and finding a much deeper purpose. Rule number 5 is a total mindset flip. Don't be afraid to fail. He says you have to fail. Failure is a necessary step on the ladder of success. In fact, the only people who never fail are the ones who never even try. Okay, I want you to take a look at this number. 9,000. What do you think that represents? Just take a guess.
That is the number of shots Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest of all time, missed in his career. See, he wasn't a success in spite of his failures. He was a success because of them. He just kept shooting, no matter what. And this isn't some abstract idea for Arnold either. The guy has failed constantly. He lost bodybuilding competitions. He starred in movies that were absolute bombs at the box office. He even lost elections. He says the key isn't to avoid failure. It's to get back up every single time.
And finally, that leads us to rule number 6. After all the struggle, all the work, all the achievement, you have to give something back. This is what turns personal success into a real legacy. It's the rule that, as he puts it, makes you feel truly successful on the inside.
And that's it. That's the complete system. You start with a crystal clear vision. You protect it from all the negativity. You fuel it with insane work and total commitment. You embrace failure as just part of the process. And finally, you give back and you complete the circle.
You know, Arnold found his blueprint in some random magazine when he was just a kid in Austria. Now you have his. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?